Messi inevitably won the game for Inter Miami against Porto, but it was Javier Mascherano's plan to make use of Messi and Suarez and also compensate for both of these players when it came to how Inter Miami were defending. And we're going to look at exactly how Inter Miami attacked in this game and how they also defended. Let's start with how they attacked. So, as you can see from the graphic here, Inter Miami were playing with this line of five, basically, including a keeper, with the fullbacks wide and hugging the touchline. This is very important, and we'll keep on going back to the importance of the fullbacks hugging the touchline. So, as it continues again, you will then see that as the ball then continues to move into midfield, you see that those guys will continue staying out wide. And Sergio Busquets, unlike what many teams have gravitated towards playing double pivots in midfield to collect the ball from the center backs or the goalkeeper, they actually keep Busquets there, Sergio Busquets there in the middle. And even as the ball goes through the middle, you see the fullbacks are still up and wide. But now here's a very important thing. Check the positioning of Messi in these different variations, but also check the structure that Inter Miami keeps, even though Messi keeps on changing his position. So, for starters, you see here that Messi is a floating 10, and alongside him, in this case, you'll find that it's Segovia who's there. So, they are floating 10s, and then Busquets is there as playing as a 6, and then Kremaski is also there as well, playing the second 6. So there is a 4 there in that midfield, which changed into different shapes. Sometimes it was a diamond, sometimes it was just a box. But in any case, they had a midfield overload of 4. And because of this, with the fullbacks being out and wide and then the 4 congesting the midfield, you then find these gaps between the defenses or the pressing lines of Porto, and then Inter Miami were able to play the ball through these gaps, and then they were able to exploit them and get to the other side and get chances. In some cases, they came very close, but they were not scoring. Again, Messi in this time around moves out wide, and then you can see that that I just call him Marcelo because I can't say his surname. He then inverts so that the structure stays the same. Either way, where Messi is not a factor, but the structure must stay the same. And then once again, you see Messi being up front. This case, you have Allende dropping, but the structure is still the same. And this is what happened in the goal. So when we start with what happened in the goal, you see something very important. You see that the fullbacks are still up and wide, closer to the touchline. And then as the ball is being played, you can see again those two are pinning the defenders. In this case would be Segovia, and then you also have Messi passing the ball back to Busquets. But can we take a second before we talk about tactics and admire this? Oh, it's like, where you going, mate? Where you going? Please subscribe to the channel, by the way, if you're enjoying the content. So let's go back to the goal. So again, you can see that they're still making that 4 in that midfield. And then now Busquets has turned. He makes the first pass wide. And again, you can see that Marcelo is up and wide, and he's there now to provide an overlapping run, and he plays the cross, and then boom, goal. It's 1-1. Inter Miami back in the game. Next up, for the free kick, before Messi scored that wonderful free kick, it's the same thing. 4 in midfield. Once again, you can see the fullbacks are wide again, stretching Porto. They play the ball 1-2 combination passes, and then after those combination passes, they foul Messi, and then Messi takes a beauty of a free kick. So what we are learning here is that, as it happens in any team that's going to get the best out of Messi, you need to find a way of how the team can evolve around him and how they can read what Messi is trying to do, because whatever that he's doing at that moment is probably the best because he's reading the game. If he's wide, you invert, no questions asked. The rotations here for Inter Miami, they don't seem to be their natural rotations that, like if you watch PSG, how they rotate and all of those things. Here, it's based on, okay, Messi's here, so what do we do? But the shape still remains the same, but they are taking into account what Messi wants to do at any given moment. Now, if we go to the defense of Inter Miami, we will start by looking at the strengths of this, and then we'll look at some problems that they might face in the future if they don't improve. So they pressed with this 4 at the back, and then there would be also in the midfield after the 4 at the back. You'll also find that Inter Miami. Okay, I just did something crazy. Let me put this up here. So what Inter Miami were doing when they were pressing the ball, they had the 4 at the back, and then they had the midfield 4, and then up front it would be Suarez and Messi. But on top of that, since Suarez and Messi were not really that aggressive in their press, now you will see that you will have Kremaski pushing up, and you'll also have Allende if it's on the left, and if it's on the right, it would be Segovia moving really tight to the central midfielders who are trying to collect the ball. And because of that, they are limiting the options that Porto had when they had the ball. So now what they will try to do, you will see that the 4-4-2 is still there, but it's not going to be Messi or Suarez who's going to make the first pressure on the ball. It's Allende. And as it rushes to the person with the ball, now the ball carrier has to kick the ball long, panicking. And now Inter Miami are on a counter, and they get the chance. If there was Suarez of 2014, he buries that chance. But now we know he has a problem with injuries with his knees. So, by the way, you have to respect Suarez. Like the fact that he's playing with pain every game, but he still pushes through. That's just crazy to me. And then once again, you see that this hybrid press of a 4-4-2/4-3-3 happens here again. The ball is being played on the left, so that means Allende must now push up and join Messi and Suarez in the press. And they are now cornering the press to the right-hand side of Porto. And look at this run. As he runs, he's looking across to make sure that he knows where the keeper might pass the ball next. And from here, he doesn't run straight at the keeper to try and win the ball, but he's trying to box him in, because his run now curves around so that he can make sure that the pass does not go wide. And once he has ensured that the pass cannot go to that side, now he can run and charge at the goalkeeper. And now the keeper panics, because now what this press has done, it has stopped the pass through the middle, which means no midfield progression, but it's also stopped the pass wide, which means there's no wide progression either. So now the ball has to be played, you guessed it, has to be played long. But Inter Miami has 4 people waiting there at the back, and then they win the ball back. And they kept on doing this even later on in the match. They were still in that disciplined 4-4-2 shape, and then it would change to a 4-3-3 if there was a pressing trigger, like the ball is passed back or there is a heavy touch, and then they are there putting pressure on the ball. But now let's look at what they would have to do in the next game to not find themselves in trouble. So we look at the weaknesses, right? So the weaknesses, like, it starts with a penalty. For a striker playing at a professional level, you would think that the first thing he does here is not to mark, is to try and slow him down. But instead, Allen just goes in and he tries to win the ball, and then it's a penalty to Porto, and then they score that penalty. But the second thing is a tactical problem, not from the players, but from the coach himself, because he has decided on the shape that he wants them to play. So if you look here, you can clearly see there is like 8 Inter Miami players who are ahead of the ball or going with the ball, which means at the back there's only 2 people left, and there would be Falcon and Frey. And now the moment the ball is won, when Messi misplaces the pass, it's now basically 2 versus 2. And against a better team, they concede a goal there. But since they were playing Porto, who are good, but they are not PSG good, they did not do the things that PSG would have done in this game. But good game from Inter Miami, hoping that they can work on this, because it would be nice to have Messi in the tournament, the GOAT. Anyways, what did you think of the game? Please do subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching. And check out how Real Madrid play in their first Club World Cup game. Are they having a serious problem? Find out here.